But the RSVGPF further reiterates that it is an offense to obstruct a police officer while he or she is executing their duty. Simmons further said, adding that Acting Commissioner of Police Enville Williams has ordered a full investigation into the matter. The police calls on citizens and residents of St. Vincent and Grenadines to respect and abide by the laws of the state. There are too many instances where some members of the public are engaging in fighting the police. The police encourages the public to work with the police in creating safer communities and combating crime and violence in the land. In his statement, which was broadcast on Facebook, Simmons said that about 8:30 p.m., acting on information, a party of officers from the Rapid Response Unit, the RRU, went to Choppins in search of a suspect who was reportedly in possession of an illegal firearm. Simmons said upon entering the village, they saw a male fitting the description of the suspected person. The officers approached the suspect and identified themselves as police officers. The officer in charge of the patrol informed the suspect about the information that was received and requested a search of his person. A crowd immediately gathered around the police and the suspect and started to behave in a hostile manner towards the police. Police officers then held on to the suspect and attempted to search him. The suspect pulled away and slapped the officer in his face. The officers again held on to the subject in an attempt to conduct the search. However, the angry crowd violently pulled the suspect away from the officers. While this was happening, someone from the crowd grabbed the purse that the suspect was carrying, which the officer suspected to have contained the illegal firearm as reported, and ran. During the upheaval, a police officer was thrown to the ground by the crowd and was injured in the process. In an effort to disperse the crowd and de escalate the situation, police discharged two shots in the air. Simmons said the police wished to remind the public of the obligations and powers conferred upon police officers in the execution of their duties and in accordance with the Firearms Act and the Criminal Procedural Code, relating to, among other things, the arrest and searching of suspects. He noted that Firearm Act states where a police officer reasonably suspects that any person is carrying a firearm or ammunition concealed about his person, he may ask the person if he is carrying a firearm. If that person is carrying a firearm or ammunition, require that person to produce a firearm or ammunition, and unless he is exempted under Section 15, his license or permit. Section 2 of the same law says that any person, fails to comply as requested under subsection 1, he commits an offense and the police officer may seize and retain the firearm or ammunition until such time as legal proceedings against the person are concluded. If any person denies that he is carrying a firearm or ammunition about his person, a police officer may search that person and seize and retain any firearm found until such time as legal proceedings are concluded against that person and shall require that person to declare to him his name and address. The senior police officer further pointed out that the CPC authorizes any police officer to stop, search, and detain any vessel, vessel, or person who may reasonably be suspected of having in his possession or conveying any manner anything stolen or unlawfully obtained in respect of which an offense is being or has been committed. The officers received credible information that the suspect was carrying an illegal firearm. Therefore, their suspicion and attempt to arrest and search the suspect were reasonable and justified by law, Simmons said. He further quotes Section 22(1) of the CPC, which states, in making an arrest, the police officer or other persons making the arrest shall touch or confine the body of the person to be arrested unless there is a submission to the custody by word or action. The officer rightly held on to the subject's hand to effect the arrest, but he pulled away, Simmons said. He further noted that in section 22(2), subsection 2 of the CPC states, if such person, the person who is under arrest, forcibly resists the endeavor to arrest him or endeavors to evade the arrest, such police officer or any person may use all means necessary to effect the arrest. Your thoughts?
Plenty and none. Plenty and none. Uh, I was looking at, I normally look at comments under these posts on social media to see what people are saying. And for what I've seen so far, there's only one individual who said that what the statement from the police is saying is not factual. Um, I would have really liked if that person had said what the truth was. If they are claiming that what the police said is not the truth, then proceed and tell us exactly what happened from your eyewitness view of the event. But no, you just leave us there high and dry. Thank you so much for nothing. Um, it is quite troubling, the contents of that statement. But I think I am satisfied by a release so far, uh, especially within the time frame that it was released. At least you get a release. Um, I don't even know what else to say about this because my biggest worry is, and I think my biggest worry is actually what's happening when you have a breakdown with the relationship between the police and civilians. The police are like on a very high level in terms of authority. And when civilians do not respect that authority, then who do they respect? They don't respect God. They don't respect themselves. They don't respect the police. Then who do they respect and who do they listen to? How do you control a community or society? Who does the controlling? Because there has to be somebody who has to enforce a certain level of control on people. Then who is going to do it? If it's not the police, then who? That's my biggest concern with all of this.
Reading this report, I don't believe it. It doesn't sound realistic to me. It does not at all sound realistic to me. And what I find very suspicious is, and this is what I have seen over the years, members of the RRU are always quick to slap people. Are you telling me that this civilian slapped the police and their way of dealing with it was trying to grab his hand? That's not realistic to me. Are you telling me that the police came to Choppins, approached this man, identified themselves as police, told him their suspicions, requested a search of his person, to which he began reacting hostile, and the crowd gathered? In the little scuffle that they had, they threw a police officer on the ground, and that is why the police fired shots. That's not what I saw from the video. In the video, there were persons trying to get the guy out of the patrol vehicle, it seems, and the officer said, I just feel like bust my gun.
There are 2 videos.
I told you, you saw clips. I saw one whole video.
So you didn't see the part where the officer was thrown on the ground?
In the beginning.
Right. So isn't that what that part of the report
The
is
way the
talking
report
about?
was written, it sounded like the officer thrown on the ground, the other officer saw that, reacted. That is not what I saw in the video. They're 2 separate instances. Do I believe that that civilian should be in fight with officer? No, I do not. I don't believe that civilian should be engaged in fights with the police officers. But if the police officers aren't conducting their duties properly, they always expect people to sit and say nothing. Now, I guess in the comments you read were from WEFM'S comments, right?
WEFM'S and the SVGTV.
So I read some from Eyewitness News, and there were some people saying that journalists need to go to Choppins and get another side of the story from the residents, because they're not crazy to just react that way. I didn't get to check Searchlight comments, but reading this and going to court and actually witnessing things and see how these reports are constructed, I am not satisfied that this is the truth at all. It just doesn't sound realistic to me that somebody slap a police officer, especially a black squad police officer, and they reacted calmly by trying to grab the guy's hand. That don't sound like the truth to me at all. But nothing ever comes to these situations, so I don't know what to expect from it. But I'll continue to say this report does not sound 100% factual to me. And I have seen reports change over time. This video reminded me of the video that I saw in 2021, where there was an issue happening in Layu, Black squad pulled up. They apprehended the person. The person is in the back of the transport. And they still slamming all kind of manner to this person. It's all on video. And then the crowd was like, the person, what are you doing the person? What are you doing the person? What are you doing? And one of the officers held their hand in what I would say is about 120 or 120 angle and fired his firearm in Layu, a mountainous area. He didn't fire it directly in the air. He fired it slanted in Layu. That could have went into somebody's house. That could have caught an innocent person. He just fired the shot. Do I think that was justified what I saw? And you know, they already apprehended the suspect. The suspect is in the transport with them in the back. And he's still slapping, doing all manner, grabbing them by the hair. I don't know if you remember this video.
I do. Something with the music and
yes, you can't justify that behavior and then come out and say we wish these civilians to assist the police. When you're doing stuff like that to the civilians, it just cannot make sense to me. And I'm sorry, I just cannot believe this report to be 100% factual. It just doesn't seem realistic to me. I'd really like for those who witnessed this and those people in Choppins to come forward and give their version of the story. And they say there's always 3 versions of the story. Your side, their side, and the truth. We have to find the truth out of both sides, because what I am reading here as a civilian does not make sense to me. It does not seem realistic. And I personally have seen officers edit the facts of how things went in order to protect themselves. And then the other issue is what I will continue to raise. The complaints department and the public relations departments are one. How can you make complaints to the department that is responsible for protecting the image of the police force? It cannot make sense. The police to investigate. Who is doing the investigations? I didn't get that from the report. I didn't see that in both stories that I read. Who is doing the investigations?
They don't ever say who's doing the investigations, because I think it's a given that it's police doing the investigations. It's stated at the bottom that
I won't say that it's a given, because right on Cop Chat, they said that there's 2 separate bodies that do investigations: the public relations unit and the
welfare.
Not welfare. It's a group, and I wonder if Rolisa could help me, because Rolisa was here. But it was a separate body of not necessarily civilians per se, but civilians. I think there was a pastor involved, and
I know that.
So I'm wondering who exactly is doing these investigations, and who will be held accountable if it is that this man had a firearm. And that's the other thing. Coincidentally, somebody grabbed the firearm and run. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what residents of Choppins have to say about the matter. But that's my 2 cents on it.
All right. Here we go again. 5 years of this nonsense. After a while, you get fed up of this nonsense.
I don't know. But
fix it, Father.
I do wish that we would not see issues like this. I do wish that we won't see things like this happening at all. I do wish that videos like this won't have to surface. I do wish that if it is that someone had a... Do I really?
Do you really wish that videos like this wouldn't surface?
Yeah. I don't want to see videos where persons and police clashing and police have to fire firearm in effort to disperse crowds. I don't want to see that. That's not what I want to see on a weekend. I want to hear comical things like, please leave me woman alone, please, Ezra. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear serious matters. I don't want to look at a video and see a police taking a rifle to the chest of somebody. I don't want to see civilians feeling the need to try to reach for somebody who police is taking into custody. I don't want to see that.
That's life.
I prefer it not be. I prefer that not be part of life. I prefer situations like that not happen at all. But that's in a perfect world. But what is stopping us from achieving that?
People.
Well,
People and the powers that be. What time is it?
the time is now 8:01.
8:01.
It's Sunday Grenadines, and your time check was brought to you by New Haven Funeral Home.
Death is a fact of life.